Hey guys, today I'm going to be engaging with a video that's Joe Rogan and Seth Dillon. Joe Rogan is a famous podcaster and Seth Dillon is the CEO of the Babylon Bee. And they're on the Joe Rogan show and the conversation turns toward a debate on abortion. So let's look at what happens.
You don't have the right to tell my 14-year-old daughter she has to carry her rapist baby. You understand that?
To look that woman in the eye who was the born of a rape.
Do you understand that? That's a 14-year-old child. If a 14-year-old child gets raped, you say that they have to carry that baby?
I don't think two wrongs make a right. I don't think murder. I don't think murder is an answer to. I don't think murder fixes a rape.
What if we're talking about an abortion when the fetus, literally, it's like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 days? What if she just turned positive, just now, positive for pregnancy?
So first of all on this, I think in some ways this is frustrating, but in other ways it's helpful. Joe Rogan is going to about the most extreme example, the most maybe sympathetic example that anybody would have. And in some ways it's not helpful because he's going to the case that is incredibly rare. And then from there, presumptively trying to say that's why we need abortion, even though this case would be incredibly rare that something like this would happen. So not only is it rape, but it's a young girl who gets raped. And then not only that, we're able to perform an abortion at like 3 days afterwards. He's painting an extreme example, which is what people typically do. But in other ways, this is helpful because dealing with the extreme example allows us to figure out what is the actual reason for why we hold the convictions that we hold when it comes to abortion.
I just disagree that.
What if it just happened today?
You can like draw a line on when.
You can't.
Like once life has begun, I don't think you draw lines. At the very moment. I would lay it out like this. I would say, it is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human life. Abortion intentionally kills an innocent human life. Therefore, abortion is wrong. And I don't think any of the examples of like, oh well, how developed is it? You know, can it think? Is it conscious? Can it dream? Can it feel pain?
So for you, it's the moment of conception.
I think that if it's a human life, a distinct human life, then I think it's wrong to end its life. And
so you think that once the conception happens, there's some sort of a miraculous event, like at the very moment, like you could literally get to the point where the sperm cracks the egg. If you could scoop that egg out right there, would that be abortion?
Well, I mean, at some point you're going to have to say there was a magic moment that happened because you believe that we eventually become valuable humans, right?
Well, listen,
where's the moment where you think the magic happened? When we start talking about harmful misinformation and the types of things that are considered, like that I say or that we tweet or the jokes that we make that are considered harmful misinformation, I'm like, well, what about calling that baby a clump of cells? I think that's harmful misinformation because then you're encouraging people to kill it like it's nothing when it's actually a human life. It's a developing human life. I think abortion is healthcare the way that rape is lovemaking. If we want to use rape as an example, I think they're opposites, and it's like these are euphemisms that we use. You know, we use the word healthcare. We're talking about a procedure that ends an innocent human life, and we're calling it healthcare. That's like calling rape lovemaking.
And this is why it's such a human issue, because I see what you're saying.
So one of the reasons why I love this video is, first of all, I think that it is an honest discussion, even though, and I think there was a point, if you watch the extended video, where Seth Dillon, to a certain degree, did call out Joe Rogan on saying, this is not most abortions. When people are advocating for abortion to be kept legal, they're not saying, only in the case of a 14-year-old girl who is raped and we know right away that they're not talking about that. They're talking about abortion across the board. But I do think that it is still an honest discussion where you can see, you can have the compassion, as I think all of us should, to say in any situation where a woman is pregnant and the pregnancy brings stress or fear, we absolutely should have compassion. That could even be within a marriage. That wouldn't have to be something that we would look at as a crisis pregnancy. That could be within a marriage, that because of health or because her marriage isn't super strong or because she's just an anxious person, that this brings up some kind of anxiety. We can have compassion on that, but I loved how Seth Dillon would stick to the point. And this is something that I think is important about abortion and other subjects. I don't know if it's our sort of culture of prizing the idea of niceness, but I think that there's a lot of believers who, when it comes to questions surrounding abortion, we're kind of apologetic about it. It's almost as if we're saying, hey, we're pro-life, but we're still good people. We're pro-life, but we still care about the mother. And so sort of like, don't paint us in a bad light. I'm not trying to be arrogant about this, but we have the moral high ground here. And I think the way that Seth handled it was really exemplary, where he was not intimidated by the idea of being painted as being a bad, uncompassionate person. He was instead very calmly talking about the compassion for the child, and that this is an unborn child. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Murder is not a solution to even something as horrific as rape. I think that we need to be humble and yet be secure and confident in this. What we are saying is it is wrong to kill unborn babies. That's not something that any of us should be embarrassed to say. And I love that in this environment, we had somebody that gave us a model of how to do it in a pretty heated and difficult atmosphere.